Europe just announced a $50 billion military bet that could reshape NATO. But here's the trap nobody's talking about. They're betting Putin will wait 10 years before he strikes. By the end, you'll understand the hidden race that's really happening. Europe is buying 10 years of safety, but Putin's window to strike might slam shut much sooner. The question is, will the missiles be ready in time? Quick question. If you were an aggressor watching your enemy build a weapon that takes 10 years to finish, would you wait? Or would you strike now before it's ready? It's July 8th, 2026, Ankara, Turkey. 12 European leaders walk into a room. Britain, France, Germany, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, the Netherlands, Norway, Romania, Spain, Sweden, and Turkey. They're not there to sign a trade pact or argue over subsidies. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer takes the floor with an announcement that rattles all the way to the Kremlin. The British government is committing £3 billion, nearly £4 billion, to deep precision strike weapons. That includes £770 million for a joint stealth hypersonic missile program with Germany, capable of hitting targets over 2,000 kilometers away. And it's not just the UK betting. All 12 nations pledge $50.66 billion over the next 10 years. For Europe, this is the hinge moment. Europe is finally building weapons that reach Moscow. No more dependence on American airfields or American missiles. No more fighting Russia's war with borrowed tools. They're stepping up to fight their own fight. What makes this terrifying for Putin is simple. Europe is saying it doesn't need. The $50.66 billion number demands explanation. It's not arbitrary. It's also not anywhere close to being the full picture of what Europe is actually spending on defense right now. Europe as a whole already invests roughly $300 billion annually on defense, more than Russia does. But those are fragmented budgets. Germany's military doesn't talk to Poland's. France's tanks don't coordinate with Swedish air defense. It's like owning a house with 12 separate electrical systems, none of them connected. What the $50.66 billion does is different. It ties those wires together around one mission: deep strike capability. Deep strike means precision weapons, missiles, drones, hypersonics that can hit targets hundreds of kilometers away with almost surgical accuracy. No collateral, minimum waste, maximum impact. For Ukraine, this doctrine has already been proven. Kyiv's forces have used long-range drones and missiles to destroy Russian command posts, ammunition depots, fuel supplies, and logistics hubs deep inside Russia. One well-placed strike can unravel an entire supply chain. That's the lesson Europe is learning, and the capability it's now buying. Most people assume Europe already has plenty of long-range firepower. After all, the continent has been building advanced weapons for decades. Storm Shadow missiles, Taurus cruise missiles, MBDA Meteor air-to-air systems. These aren't store-bought toys. They're cutting-edge platforms with sophisticated targeting, hardened construction, and proven kill records. There's one problem. They're too short. Storm Shadow can hit targets 550 kilometers away. That's 342 miles. Sounds far until you realize Moscow is over 1,600 kilometers from Poland's eastern border. Taurus maxes out at around 500 kilometers. Meteor, even shorter, just 200 kilometers. Europe's best missiles can't reach deep into Russia. In a hypothetical war where Russian forces invade the Baltics or Poland, Europe would be forced to watch logistical nodes, command centers, and air bases operate freely on Russian soil, just out of range. It's like having a sword, but needing a spear. The new Deep Strike initiative fixes that gap. The joint UK-Germany hypersonic program aims for 2,000 kilometers. That's more than triple the range. Suddenly, targets that were untouchable become vulnerable. Consider what Ukraine has done with long-range strike capability, despite having a fraction of Europe's resources and military budget. In the first year of Russia's invasion alone, Ukrainian forces used drones and missiles to destroy over 400 Russian tanks, hundreds of air defense systems, and dozens of military installations. But the real victories came against logistics, fuel depots, ammunition warehouses, rail hubs, and command posts deep inside occupied territory. One operation in particular tells the story. In April 2024, Ukrainian forces struck a major Russian airbase in Pskov, over 1,500 kilometers from Ukrainian-held territory. The strike disabled half the airfield's operational capacity. One missile, one base, weeks of Russian air operations crippled. When your enemy can't move ammunition or fuel, it doesn't matter how many tanks they have. The logistics collapse first. The army follows. Europe watched this. Europe learned. The obvious next question is, why 10 years? If Europe is this alarmed, why not accelerate the program? Why not compress the timeline to 5 years, or even 3? The answer lies in production reality. Complex weapons programs don't move at startup speed. They move at industrial speed. The joint UK-Germany hypersonic missile needs design, testing, manufacturing, integration, and deployment across a dozen different supply chains. The Stratus program, the successor to Storm Shadow, involves Italy and France coordinating on warhead design, guidance systems, and production capacity. Neither nation has built missiles at scale in decades. The factories are offline. The expertise is fragmented. The supply chains are rusty. History proves this. The European A400M military transport took 20 years from concept to first delivery. The Airbus FCAS joint fighter program, just announced a few years ago, won't see operational aircraft until 2035, a 9-year wait minimum before pilots are even flying prototypes. Europe's weapons programs routinely miss deadlines by years. 10 years is European optimism dressed as a plan. It might be 12, it might be 15, and that delay is the opening Putin needs. If you're watching this because NATO's future worries you or excites you, hit subscribe now so you see what happens next. The story of how Europe defends itself is just getting started, and the next 5 years will tell us whether this bet pays off or backfires catastrophically. Here's what Europe assumes will happen. Europe builds missiles for 10 years. Russia waits. The missiles arrive. Deterrence is established. Putin recalculates. Peace holds. Here's what's actually happening. Russia is not waiting. Moscow has already begun moving to neutralize this threat before it's even born. Russia's hypersonic weapons program, Kinzhal and Avangard, are already operational. China has shared advanced drone and electronic warfare capabilities with Moscow over the past 2 years. Iranian loitering munitions, drones designed to hover and strike, are now being produced under Russian license and deployed in Ukraine. Most critically, Russia is overhauling its air defense strategy. New S-500 systems, designed specifically to counter hypersonic missiles, are rolling out of production lines. Russia is closing the window Europe thinks it still has open. By the time Europe's first hypersonic missile is ready, Russia may have built the defenses to stop it. Europe is building a sword for 2035. Russia is building a shield for 2028. That's not a gap, that's a race. There's another problem lurking inside the $50.66 billion promise. 12 countries with 12 separate defense budgets and 12 separate reasons to quit. History proves this. The Eurofighter jet program launched in 1983 with 4 nations. It took 29 years to deliver the first operational squadron. Spain threatened withdrawal twice. The UK considered dropping out. Coordination between democracies is hard. Coordination between 12 democracies, some facing budget pressure, some facing elections, some lobbied by Washington to buy American, is exponentially harder. One political change could unravel the entire coalition. Imagine Poland votes to redirect funds to air defense. Imagine France pursues a separate program. Imagine Germany's parliament votes against hypersonic weapons. The program isn't backed by NATO treaty. It's a voluntary pledge. Pledges can be broken. Here's the part that keeps NATO strategists awake at night. Europe's deterrent doesn't work until the missiles are ready. And right now, the deterrent is a promise. A very expensive promise, backed by 12 nations and $50 billion. But a promise nonetheless. Deterrence theory says an aggressor won't attack if the cost of attack exceeds the benefit. Russia calculates, if I invade Lithuania, Europe will destroy my logistics, cripple my air force, and make the occupation unsustainable. Cost exceeds benefit. Russia doesn't invade. But that calculation only holds if Europe actually has the weapons. If those weapons are still being manufactured in 2028 or 2030, or 2032, the calculus flips. Russia asks a different question. If I attack now, while Europe's defenses are still fragmented and its missiles are still on assembly lines, can I move fast enough to occupy territory before Europe can mount a counterstrike? Deterrence only works if the threat is present. A weapon you're gilding doesn't deter. A weapon you're holding does. That's Putin's calculation. Not should I wait, but when should I move before I have to wait? Picture June 2028. Russian forces mass on Lithuania's border. NATO scrambles. Emergency meetings in Brussels. The UK, which promised hypersonic missiles by now, delivers prototypes. Not operational, not deployed. Russian forces cross the border. Vilnius falls within 48 hours. NATO faces a choice. Counterattack with existing forces, absorbing massive casualties, or negotiate from weakness. Had the missiles been ready, the scenario reverses. Russian staging areas in Belarus get struck, supply lines severed before they're established. Russian air defenses degraded in preemptive strikes. The invasion becomes prohibitively costly before troops cross the border. Deterrence works. If the missiles are in the factory, Lithuania falls while the world watches. The timeline is the difference between deterrence and defeat. That's why the next 3 to 4 years are critical. If Europe accelerates even 2 years off the plan, it transforms the entire threat calculation. But here's the thing that gives Europe actual hope. Ukraine already proved the speed is possible. At the start of Russia's invasion in 2022, Ukraine didn't have a dedicated command and control system. Its military was fragmented, its communications layered across phone apps and radio networks. Targeting decisions took hours. Intelligence moved slowly. By the time a commander got targeting data, the enemy had already moved. In 18 months, a team of Ukrainian software engineers and military strategists built Delta, a cloud-based battlefield management system that consolidates intelligence from drones, satellites, ground sensors, and human sources into a single screen. It takes targeting data from collection to strike authorization in minutes, sometimes seconds. Ukraine built a Palantir-grade system faster than Western corporations build marketing dashboards. NATO has been trying to do the same thing for decades. Delta exists outside a laboratory. It works under fire. If one country with half the GDP of Poland can build a world-class military system in 18 months, Europe, pooling the resources of 27 nations, has no excuse for dragging out deep strike development to 2036. The bottleneck isn't physics or engineering, it's political will. Europe's bet on deep precision strike isn't just about missiles, it's about proving that the continent can stand alone. The $50.66 billion is real, the 12-nation commitment is real, but the clock is real too. If Russia moves before the missiles arrive, 10 years of planning becomes a decade of regret. If Europe accelerates, if the political will holds, if the factories deliver on time, then the tables turn. Putin's window closes, Europe's opens. The next 5 years will decide which scenario unfolds, and that race is already underway.